Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I'm with Hampton Brooks today, and he is the owner of Eastern Shore Canine.
Yep.
And I'm so excited for you to be here. I have a family connection with pretty much his entire extended family, and I thought of him because he started this business, and personally I'm going to use him, and I just want everybody else to know about him. So I'm gonna ask him some questions that I do know most of the answers to,
Yeah.
and I'm learning so much about you today. So
That's excellent. So
yes.
even before we get started, like how grateful we are to come in and hang out with you. This is kind of like a lost art form. We don't do a whole lot of getting to know our neighbors, even that.
Right.
So we're super excited to be a part of the community and talk with you kind of how we help our community and just to get to know you too. So we're super excited.
Thank you. I'm so glad that it's so weird because I started doing this about a month ago.
Yeah.
But people are so excited that they get to see interaction, like you're saying, with community members. We have so many people in our community that are small business owners.
So I
Not
think
on
this is a huge thing, especially over the past year, that's really going to hit home with a lot of folks, is that the small business in your local community is your backbone.
Correct.
And when that gets taken away, you feel like your legs got cut out. And you don't get to do this, right? Like this was like almost forbidden last year, that you
Yes.
couldn't talk to someone. You
Yes.
couldn't be in, and the things that we miss, those nuances that we miss, build those really strong connections in our community. And we're so grateful to be in the community, to reach out to that community, and hopefully build some bonds between families and their
Yes.
canine counterparts.
Yes.
So we're super excited. Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
Well, before we get started on all the questions,
Yep.
this is so cute.
Really
Brought
cool.
these today. These are, it says farm to treat. Do you make these?
So no, we work as a partnership with Anna from Farm to Treat. She owns
Okay.
Farm to Treat. She actually just opened a storefront here in Fairhope. Yep.
Next interview.
Yep. So we have a partnership with her. We have our own treat line.
Okay.
Everything is organically raised. It all comes from local farms, local pastures. And then she puts those like real minimal ingredients and makes a really healthy alternative treat. The dogs love them. The people love them. So we try to get a few bags from her every month. We also have a promo code. If you reach out to us, we'll give you 15% off of your first order from her,
Okay.
from our line of treats. So please don't forget.
They
She's an
won't forget.
awesome business owner. She's worked really hard. We also work directly with the Fairhope Groomery.
Okay.
All of our dogs go there. Our personal dogs go there. But also every client dog, before they go home, Jill takes care of them. She gives them a pamper day, and they come out beautiful. So I'm super grateful for her taking us in like she has.
Yeah.
She always makes room for us. They're up on 181, and they have a beautiful business thriving there. But she takes like immense care of the dogs. So we try to really be specialized with who we partner with in those aspects. But Anna and Jill seem to be awesome people, and they really seem to be working hard, again, in their community, their circle, right?
Right.
And it's nice to see that those circles intermingle, and we all get to know each other in this own special way.
So for those of you that don't know, every time you're interviewed and your business gets put on my website, which is then in turn sent back out to social media, you get a sub page where you can have your clients click on, new clients, click on it. It shows all your information. If you have a coupon,
Oh, great.
I show you the coupon codes.
Yeah.
Then they can also write a review about you, and then that gets sent back out to social media.
That's huge.
So
That's huge.
Yes.
What a great marketing tool. What a great networking tool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That everybody gets to understand a little bit more about who like they're dealing with at the moment, you know? And it adds like, so we moved here from North Carolina,
Yes.
and there wasn't as much personability, I guess maybe, as there is here. There's a large community, and the community wants you to do well.
they do.
It's really felt, right? Like even from the home builders, there's so many new homes being built, and like the huge economy that brings to us. Even down to the beach, like in everywhere in between, you can always find somebody that knew somebody,
Oh, yes.
and it's instantly welcomed. So the friendship and that kind of camaraderie feel is really felt in this part of the community for sure.
I take that for granted sometimes. I
All
grew
the
up in
time.
Atlanta, and I might have said this in one of my previous interviews. I can't remember because
Yeah.
I'm starting to add up.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
When I moved here, it was so strange because people would come up to me, and I was pregnant with one child, another
Yep.
baby in the cart, and they would come up to me and just want to talk to me.
Yep.
I'm like, why are these strangers
What are you
talking to me?
doing?
Like, why
Back
are you,
off? What is that?
But
What is
then
that?
I learned that that's just how it is around here.
That's just how it is.
Mhm.
It's the feeling of you don't have to be in a hurry.
Right.
We'll get where we're gonna go,
Sometimes
and
that's
we'll
a little
all
annoying,
get there
but-
together.
Right.
Certainly, especially like if you're a fast-paced person,
Right.
you know.
Mhm.
But for me, it's really helped put in perspective of what is important.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
those around you are the ones that are going to be around you, and to make those bonds, those lasting bonds,
Right.
it doesn't happen often. And when you get the opportunities like this and to reach out a little more, it makes it all that more beautiful for us. You know.
Yes, definitely. And you're kind of moving forward in some of the questions I was going to ask you.
Please
So,
do.
where are you from?
So we're originally from North Carolina.
Mhm.
I grew up on farmland in North Carolina.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where all this love and passion and desire for animals kind of came
Mhm.
from. So it's a very respected thing there.
Mhm.
And to be around the animals and to learn from the animals, like it was always like this sense of pride, right? Like the animal wasn't below you, or it was a part of you. Like there's a very symbiotic relationship there with that. So we had horses, goats, pigs,
Wow.
you know, and it was just the way of life. They were obviously more pets,
Mhm.
so that I got to see like this side of, you know, the pig runs around the front yard. Like our neighbor had a pig that ended up being our pig because it just came back and forth all the time.
Did
right?
China ever go to the?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So we met like 13 years ago
Mhm. Y'all are such a
And,
cute couple, by the way.
at a local gym there, and then she went off to college at East Carolina,
Mhm.
and through that we say that like we were able to grow separately together. And I know that might be like a little oxymoronic,
Right.
but we got to like really understand each other even with that distance. And it really put in perspective that now when, you know, we bought a house from Stephanie,
Yes.
we're buying some land from Stephanie, like all these things, like it gives you such more of a perspective and gratitude, right? Because that distance was always there for the first 5 years.
Mhm.
So now, like, I really think that like there's not a time that we take for granted with each other. You know, I know it's tough for her. We've got a lot of dogs, and we keep a lot of dogs coming in.
Right. That's why we're trying to find you a bigger house.
That helps a
That
lot.
fits your needs.
That's excellent. Maybe a place that she can go and take a nap.
Mhm.
But she's absolutely the loving caregiver.
Mhm.
Um,
I can see
I'm
that.
much more of like, you know, we're gonna work today and we build a bond that way.
Mhm.
But she's definitely the one that sits down with the dogs and brushes them and loves them and cares for them. She definitely has like that motherly instinct of, I want to make sure they're getting all the love they can possibly get.
She
So
told me
it's
something cute the other day.
Let me hear it.
So I did not realize this, and people might know this, but do all dog trainers, like when it's raining outside, do they all have a little treadmill for their dogs so they can run?
So not many.
So cute.
We do that to make sure that exercise is kept
Right.
up. So it's super important for our dogs to not feel frustrated and pent up,
Mhm.
because then they instantly revert back to what is genetic instead of what is trained.
This is making so much
Yep.
sense now.
All right. So every morning,
Mhm.
every dog starts with exercise. We wake up, we use the bathroom, and then we begin our day with exercise.
Mhm.
Whether that's 20 minutes on a treadmill. The younger dogs, we don't treadmill until after 8 months.
Mhm.
So the younger dogs, I take on a long walk. We'll do that 3 times a day. That's the time that we get to bond, but they also get to exercise. We get to work on things. They get to see their outside community, and they get to learn how to filter distractions,
Mhm.
even with that small little interaction there. But the bigger dogs, they all treadmill at least 20 minutes 3 times a day. And that's between meals. That way that they're full, they're satiated, and then they get that exercise. Then they go up, they take a little nap, and we get to do it again.
What's the minimum and maximum amount of time that you keep these dogs to take care of them and train them?
That's a great question.
Mhm.
So we don't like to rush behaviors.
Mhm.
There is a way to rush a behavior,
Mhm.
but I equate that to there's no point in rushing a foundation when you're building a home,
Mhm.
because you hope to have that home forever.
Right.
Okay, so we don't want to rush a foundation. We want to make sure that the foundation is laid properly before we move to advanced obedience and advanced exercises. So we like to keep dogs about 6 weeks. I say 6 to 8
Right.
because I have a dog now that's going to be here probably the 8 weeks, because she had extreme food aggression. And you typically don't see a dog, especially a young dog, that will actually not respect spatial pressure from a human.
Mhm.
Most dogs genetically understand that when a human walks
Right.
up, they back up.
Right.
But this little girl didn't. So we had to really take our time to teach her that I bring value, I don't take away, I bring value. So when I'm coming up to you, there's no point being aggressive towards me because I probably have something more valuable than what you actually have now. So that just takes time. There's no way to rush that and feel comfortable later, right? So
Right.
I don't want to send the dog home and the dog bite their owners.
Is that what the dog was doing? Biting
Yeah,
the
it's
owner?
bitten 2 people already.
Okay.
Because I say that genetics are what you're capable of doing, but your environment allows for the expression of that gene. Right? So it was in an environment which the lady did everything she possibly could. I mean, they're beautiful dog owners. But previous to getting her, the dog was in a litter that probably got knocked off the nutritional value, right? And now it thinks that every time it gets something, it has to eat it ferociously.
Right.
Right? So we have to teach the dog there will be another meal, and it'll come from me. Right? So we hand feed all of our dogs. It builds the bond there. So that dog might be here 8 weeks. We might be able to see a progression and get finished in 6, but I don't want to rush that process. I want the dog to go home confident, excited,
Right.
and the family to understand that what they got was a dog that understands what's being asked of it and it wasn't rushed. That make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So
It does.
typically 6 weeks. We do home lessons. We typically don't advertise a lot of home lessons because, again, there's probably a foundational issue.
Right.
Your dog runs away when it's called, right? That's huge.
Yes,
Everybody's
you and I
dog
talked
does
about
this a ton.
last week.
All right, that's a foundational issue because the fun stops when it comes to you. I certainly can teach that at home,
Right.
but it's going to be about a 5-to-1 ratio. And what I mean is every hour I'm there, you're going to have to spend 5 hours doing that same thing
Okay.
for it to make sense,
Okay.
right? Whereas if it lives with me,
Right.
it's constant every day, all day. The dog's being trained to reprogram that when it gets to me, great things happen, more fun happens, instead of going away and the game starts during keep away time.
So
Right.
how do you? This is kind of a question because you know you're gonna
Yeah.
be meeting Finn
Yeah,
in just a little
yeah.
bit. How do you transfer the behavior that you were training
Yep.
to the owner?
So that's a wonderful question because it's the question that everybody has.
Oh, okay.
Everybody has 2 questions. Will my dog remember me when they come
Yes,
back?
that's what I'm worried
So
about.
no dog has ever forgotten their person.
Okay.
I can promise you no dog has ever forgotten the person. And how do I get the dog to do what you get it to do?
Right.
So for us, there's no point for me to have the dog create those behaviors for me. It's unquestionably going to happen for me. So I need to transfer that to you. So we have 5 in-home lessons built in our program where we take about 2 hours each time to come to your home and to teach you and to catch you up to what we've done so far and to help you understand how and why we're doing it, right? We also send you a go-home video of this is kind of like how we expect the first week to go. The first
Okay.
weeks are always a little bit testy.
Right.
So we send you a go-home video with your dog. This is how we expect the first week. These are like traits that you can do with your dog. These are fun games you can do with your dog. And we want to like explain why we're doing that because it's very important for you to be able to communicate with your dog the same way that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is so interesting. I had told Hampton and anybody that knows me, we have a 7 to 8 year old beagle. I can't remember how old she is now. And then our pet sitter just randomly called us and said, I have a 5-week-old beagle puppy. Do you want it? And of course I said no. But that was the day after Thanksgiving. And
Yep.
now I have Finn and he's, I guess he's 6 months
6
old
months?
now.
Yeah.
So Hampton's
Yep.
going to be training my dog. So
Yeah.
I'm asking you questions personally, but I also
Please
want
do.
everybody to know.
That's what. So the questions that you have, everybody in the world has. So don't feel as if I tell people this all the time. Don't feel as if you're alone in this.
Okay.
You certainly aren't, right?
Okay.
Because we have a lot of what we're calling COVID dogs. People got dogs last year, and they've never left their side,
Okay.
and now they have complete dependency on the person, right? Now they have separation anxiety. They don't know how to filter being away and things like that. Happens all the time. Right? It's a major issue, especially we're seeing a lot of that from the previous year. So I tell people you're not alone. You have me for forever. I can talk about a dog for the next 100 years. So you are not bothering me.
Okay.
call us a million times and ask a million questions. We love to talk about it.
And you also have an Instagram?
Yep,
And also
Instagram and
Facebook.
Facebook are linked through Eastern Shore Canine.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what made you decide
Yeah.
to do this? Like where did this passion come from? Did it come from, like you were saying, being on a farm?
So it's certainly, the seed was planted super young. So my mother raised Cocker Spaniels. She had a few like award-winning Cocker Spaniels and beautiful dogs, right? So I know that it got cultivated somewhere there, right? Living on the farm, it just cultivates this love for being outside and being around animals, right? So you kind of learn a little bit along the way. But a few years ago, I was working with the post office. I never saw my family.
That was when I first met you.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, well, even when we first moved here, right? So I
Yes.
transferred from North Carolina, working at a post office there, to here, and the you're working from sun up to sundown, and
Right.
sometimes after sundown, right?
Right.
And it wasn't. It was no longer beneficial. So there was like a law of diminishing returns that began to happen, right? After a certain amount of hours, it doesn't matter how much money you make because you're there,
Right.
right? So because of that, and because of like the beautiful support system that we have, right? So I don't want to let that go at all. We have a beautiful family
Your family's
that's
awesome.
unbelievably supportive in every aspect. They are absolute cheerleaders. And we have like friends back home that we call family that are the same way. I mean, if you're doing something, they are there with you to do it. And it's a beautiful lift-off point that you have, right? So I just gave up that job, right? I mean, it was completely secure. Could never get fired. I had beautiful benefits. I had a beautiful retirement plan. I could have been there for the next 40 years. But we took a massive leap of faith. Did a ton of research with a ton of different trainers at different schools. One of our great mentors in this industry is Adam and Nikki Welburn. We got our first dogs over here laying down.
What is your dog named? What is her name?
Her name is Ayla. She's a working line shepherd. She'll begin competing next year, and there's a few different sports. So we're laying a lot of her. The foundation's been laid, so now we're adding like a lot of like really strict obedience things and protection things for her. But we consulted with them a lot. They're beautiful friends of ours, and we landed at Lucky Dog Pet Services with Rebecca Schultz.
Where is she located?
She's located in New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. So I gave up that, and I gave up my family for months,
Right.
you know. And I moved up there, lived with her, became a complete part of her family. Her family has been beyond beautiful to me, right? So along the way, there is no such thing as like autodidact, right? It's that everybody is learning from everybody. You're not self-taught, right? Because you had to learn it from somewhere else.
Right.
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 So we went up there and got to spend a ton of time with amazing trainers. We went all over the world. We spent some time in California with some beautiful trainers. And she really helped me understand the science behind what we're doing and why we're doing it. I think that's lost on a lot of folks, right? It's not just sit down, come stay, right? There's a ton of science behind the psychology of what's happening, right? Why the dog's thinking what it's thinking, and how to help it think differently in the environment in which we're bringing it up. Does that make sense?
Yes. I'm going to ask you one of those
Please
questions.
do.
Then I'm going to throw you for a loop and ask you another question that's not
Oh,
related to
cool.
dogs. So, is there a difference between training a purebred dog because of the direct hereditary traits versus a dog that's mixed?
So no dog is the same. Every dog is going to be different, right? So I have 2 working line shepherds and a working line Malinois, right? Genetically, they're all going to be pretty similar because they come from a specific line of dogs that are meant to work. All right, they are in no way. Their training is in no way the same.
Okay.
They're completely different in the
Not
way
because
that
of
they
the
think.
breed,
Not
just
because of the breed,
the
per se.
individual, like
Yes,
the
the individual
personality.
dogs,
Okay.
right? That personality is different.
Okay.
So genetics will always play a role,
Right.
but it's a beautiful dance between genetics and environment.
Okay.
All right. So if the dog has the genetics, if it's predisposed to be an aggressive dog, right? Okay, that happens. Okay. if we're not bringing it up in that environment, we don't want it to have that option to express that gene. Right? So we want to be very calm and help the dog understand that that expression isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for something different.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So what you're saying is I'm a bad dog owner. I'm
Not
just
at all.
joking.
No, wait, no one's a bad dog owner because, listen, we all genuinely love our
Right.
dogs.
Oh, I love them
I mean,
so
we
much.
love our dogs, right? Some of us love our dogs by feeding it pizza,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just you're expressing your love.
Right.
It just happens to not be good for the dog.
Mm-hmm.
But the dog doesn't understand that. You don't understand that. You think, well, I gave it a slice of pizza last night. That's awesome.
Right.
I totally understand. I totally get it. I just asked you to love your dog a little bit differently in a way of communicating with it maybe slightly different,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Adding a little more structure. Dogs aren't typically meant to be leaders. Dogs are one of the small animals, one of the few animals that have evolved completely because of humans, right? At some point, we threw a bone on the ground, and a wolf ate it.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it evolved to German Shepherds, Poodles, all different breeds, right?
Interesting.
Because we genetically selected certain traits,
Mm-hmm.
right? So typically the dog that could run the fastest and catch the most rabbits, that dog got more opportunities to reproduce.
Mm-hmm. What about a beagle? What's the beagle known for?
So the beagle is specifically known for catching rabbits.
Yeah.
All right. So what a beagle can do, its superpower
Mm-hmm.
is put its nose to the ground and run
Mhm.
for days.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why both of ours have tracking devices.
All right. That's a great point
Yes.
because every beagle
Mhm.
before him
Mhm.
was genetically selected and predisposed to do that, right? Because there was a time where we used a dog to chase down a rabbit so we could eat, and then we traded that rabbit for something that the dog wanted, right?
Mhm.
So we taught the dog that if it brought us back a rabbit, or if it cornered a rabbit and we were able to hunt that rabbit, that provided nutrients for us. So then we traded that dog something, right? Something that that dog wanted.
Right.
Now we do that with a ball. That dog over there, Ayla, will do absolutely anything for a ball.
Can Ayla come over here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Break. Good mama. Hey, baby. Hey, girl.
This is Ayla.
I know. Good girl. Good girl. So, good girl. I know, girl. All right. Good mama.
Can you
Good
she
girl.
have a
Yeah,
treat?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
You can have everything.
with the time that we have, I
Yep.
want everybody to know a little personal something about you. So, Hampton loves shoes, which I did not find this out till today.
Yep. It's a
Hampton
hidden
loves,
passion.
yes,
Yeah.
or obsession.
Yeah, more so.
Can you show them your shoes?
Yeah, I can. Can you guys see these?
He
So-
personalizes his Vans.
So these are Disney Mickeys, but they're birthday Mickeys. So we only wear them on birthdays. Today happens to be Ayla's birthday. So they only get to come out 3 or 4 times a year. But we have these. We have Donald Ducks. We have another pair of Mickey and Minnie's. We have
Do you
some.
have a NASA?
Yeah, we have some NASA shoes that were sponsored by NASA. And we have a custom pair of Eastern Shore Canine Vans coming. So if you guys are into shoes, we highly recommend Vans being the shoes to find.
So, before we end,
Yeah.
is there anything, and I'm like I said, I'm going to
Yeah.
post all your information at the end.
Please
Is there
do.
something that people don't know about your business? We've kind of gotten to the science of it,
Yep.
the personal aspect of it,
Yep.
the training, the time you said you prefer.
Yeah, so again, we always like to give, because we hope the dog's not gonna, we hope the dog will always be here. So there's no point in rushing what doesn't have to be rushed.
Right.
Like, give us the time
It's your birthday, so you can have
so you can have more. Yeah, she can have some peanut butter.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, what might be lost on a lot of folks is that when we cultivate these behaviors, our success is only as good as your success.
Right.
So, like I tell everyone, there's no question that the dog will do the behaviors for me. But we want to work really intimately with the families, right? So, a great example is we did a poodle for a beautiful family outside of Mobile. They have a special needs child that has high functioning autism. Beautiful family.
Can I give her this?
Yeah,
Okay.
she'll just keep eating.
Okay.
So he has a thing where he had an asphyxiation with his hand. So he constantly moved his hands. And he had a ruler, almost like a fidget spinner, and would constantly do
Right.
the ruler, right? So that dog had to be trained to understand that this sort of movement isn't exciting, okay?
Oh, that
To
would
even
be
lick the
fun.
hands to help him calm down a little bit, to
Right.
move away from the hands, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of folks, I think it's lost on that if you have a specific need in your home, we want to cater our program specifically for your home.
Right.
My home behaviors are not your behaviors, right? When my wife is alone, the dogs know, okay, they're specifically understanding that situation. If there's a knock at the door, you think the door's going to be broken down. That's not a behavior that you might not want in your home,
Right.
but we have it in our home to protect our wife.
Right.
Right, so the same is open here, is that he would move his hands a whole lot. So the dog would get a little mouthy, and it would start to scare him a little bit, right? She didn't mean to bite him.
Right.
She just
She was
thought
just
that was
excited.
exciting. Yeah,
Right.
that's exciting.
That's
So
the last
we had
one.
to go out and purchase. We went out. We purchased a ruler, and we did all of those things around the dog constantly, and reconditioned the dog's thought of what that means. It means to
Interesting.
calm down, not be
Right.
excited now,
Right.
right? That sort of thing. So I think a lot of that is lost. So we want to make sure that if you have something in your family that you want us to work on, please tell us. We have a questionnaire that goes out before we take every dog. We do an evaluation before
Okay.
we take any dog into our home. For those specific instances, we want to make sure that what you need we can provide. Because if we can't, we don't want to lie. We don't want to promise something that can't be done. So we want to make sure that what you need we can provide, and vice versa.
Okay.
I think that's lost.
Well, you
Yeah.
have given me so much information. You've given our community so much information, and my mind is just, thinking of a million things that you're going to help us with. And like I said, I'm going to post everything about Eastern Shore Canine on my
We are
website.
very grateful. Thank you
Tag
so
it back
much.
to you.
Okay, great.
And everybody's going to see this video hopefully by this afternoon. My daughter Juliet is still helping me edit these videos,
Yeah.
but we're getting better at it. And thank you so
But-
much for coming, and y'all have a wonderful Easter weekend.
Thank you. You guys too.
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate you so much.